7:12 and 4 degrees in the downtown core. We're looking at a high of 13 for today. Chris Abel is our tech expert on Weekends with Joanne Brackus, and he's joining us with more tales from the world of technology. Some of them scary, some of them fun. Good morning to you, Chris.
Good morning.
Okay, this is interesting, this first story, because it's verification badges, right? And you know how when you finish writing something or sending in a questionnaire and it'll ask you, are you a robot? Verify you're not a robot. Spotify is also tackling this issue with musicians.
Yes, what they've decided to do is to bring back the old verified badge, which used to be that you could tell if a celebrity was actually the celebrity that was attached to the account. Now they're saying, okay, we're going to use this so you know that the Spotify account actually belongs to a human being as opposed to an artificial intelligence, because that's become a big problem for music services. And so they think this is at least good because we're all kind of familiar with it. And they promise that in the coming weeks, they're going to be rolling out this system, and they will be able to verify at least 99% of the most common and popular musicians and artists that people tend to search for. However, it is a much more nuanced problem than this, and something that Spotify has to continue to work on, because while that takes care of the people who own the account, human beings are still going to produce music using AI. And so we need to have something that can label the songs themselves. So when you see a song, you need to know, was that song created by a human being using artificial intelligence? Or was it a song created by artificial intelligence? Yeah.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, Chris, aren't realizing, and I think this is so sad. It's so sad that AI is being used to create music. And, you know, they go as far as even designing and making a person out of AI, right? So you think, oh, that's a real person. It's AI. They're doing it with art as well. And this is, I think these are such the cores of who we are as humans, right? The art. So I'm happy to see Spotify's making that distinction, first of all, you know, the human using AI versus just straight AI. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, let's head on over to ChatGPT. And you have to explain this to me, because you're saying that they have a goblin and a gremlin problem. Qu'est-ce que c'est?
So for some strange reason, since ChatGPT was first launched, it has, over time, it keeps mentioning goblins, like a lot. In fact, they saw first that this was happening, and they went, this is kind of unusual, and then over time it just keeps happening more and more and more. In fact, since ChatGPT launched, the number of times that they say goblins has gone up by 175%.
What?
So this is a really weird...
Yeah.
So what it comes down to is ChatGPT tries to emulate us human beings and tries to find things that we do and mimic them. And so we have a tendency every now and then when we experience a technical problem, we say, oh, there's goblins in the system, or there's gremlins in the system. And so ChatGPT has been trying to emulate that, but it doesn't quite understand it. So it starts to call anything, everything, a goblin or a gremlin, and it gets to be kind of ridiculous. So ChatGPT, the engineers, are now trying to work with the system to reduce that kind of behavior. In fact, since launch, ChatGPT has been mentioning gremlins. That's been up by 52%. It keeps going. In fact, ChatGPT seems to think this is so successful and that we love mentions of goblins and gremlins that now the engineers are having to try to curb ChatGPT from doing the same thing with mentions of raccoons, trolls, ogres, and pigeons.
That's so strange. So it was trying to understand some, like a term that we use, you know, as a little metaphor or as an analogy or a comparison, and then it's gone 152% increase of gremlins, 175 mentions. That's percent mentions. Yeah. Okay. So we're not there yet with ChatGPT. Okay.
No.
We got to get to this story because, first of all, the photo that you sent me is hilarious. It's a tiny robot cleaning up kitty litter. What's going on here?
So the researchers at Carnegie Mellon University have come up with software that can help humanoid robots do very nuanced actions with their hands. So one example is that you see a robot go over to a counter, put its hand on the counter, and then scoop up stuff from the top of the counter and scoop that into an open drawer. Or pick up a phone and plug that into a charger. Like trying to find the kind of actions that we do to try to make these robots more useful. But the one that stood out to me is that they've trained it to be able to clean out a cat's litter box. And literally, the robot does it exactly the way you and I would, where you walk up to the box, you squat down, you grab the little tiny shovel, you sift through the sand until you find the lumps, and then use the shovel to put the lumps into the wastebasket. I saw this and thought, oh man, finally something that I think a lot of people would label as being terribly useful.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you would love to have a humanoid robot go and clean out the kitty litter for you.
This one is useful, and I gotta say, it's a little bit adorable as well. That little photo is quite cute. Chris Abel is on social media at Chris Abel with a K, Krisabel, the real Chris Abel. You can follow along there. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time. We will chat again very soon.
Looking forward to it. Yay.